Welcome back to... Yeah, mate. Absolutely no problem with that. He's barely touched him. I love football. I don't like the phrase overthinking. I prefer the term unproductive thinking. I really have reached uncle status, haven't I? You absolutely can get caught chasing a tail, going over and over a problem in your head, which isn't helpful, but you're working against the thoughts, not with them, in my view, by describing it as overthinking and trying to stop doing so. To me, the more interesting question is, why are those thoughts coming? What is the source of the anxiety? What lies behind the obsession with these thoughts? There, I think, you can get deeper insights. Ironically, some of you will think I'm overthinking the word overthinking in this video. Fine, it's my proclivity, and it's probably why I don't like it, because I've been accused of doing it a million times. And in the case of Arsenal right now, I might have to get over my dislike of that word. One word? Two words? A frustrating afternoon on Sunday followed a frustrating start to the season, full of frustration with referees, the manager, injuries, suspensions, and more. I don't know about you, but I feel like a coiled spring with Arsenal at the moment. Every time we got close to a big sigh of relief recently at City or against Liverpool, or even in the wins where we've just got there, like Shakhtar, the lift-off moment, the, okay, we know we're good, but this result proves it moment. It feels like that's just been snatched away from us, often by something we can't control. And understandably, we want to know why. And we attach in all sorts of different directions. It's the referees, it's the manager, it's this player, it's Arsenal fans on social media being negative, somehow forcing Nunez's leg into Gabriel's knee. It's Jamie Carragher, it's Gunnosaurus. But the truth, annoyingly, I think, is a lot more simple. And therefore, perhaps, even more annoying. Tactically, apart from a strange period in the second half where we sat back, which we'll come to, I thought Mikel got a lot right on Sunday. I felt we were better than them, and we knew it. So it's frustrating that the result went the way it did. Havertz dropping into these spaces in here was dragging McAllister wide and causing them all sorts of issues, creating the spaces inside, allowing us to fairly easily get through them and find the spare man in build-up. With their centre-backs refusing to push up or track runners with their egos the size of the clock end, it really worked. Rice, I thought, did a brilliant job facing play and deeper a lot more, thank the footballing powers that be, receiving in the block, confusing Nunez and Jones about where it was he was standing, and creating all sorts of dilemmas for the pressing players about who was to go with who. I suspect they probably expected a pivot inside more often to match theirs, and Marino and Partey took turns emptying and filling the midfield, which I think was effective. We were consistently hitting the spaces in behind their fullbacks from the back, with White and Gabriel too, back to peak 21-22 stuff. You forget how good White is when his passing menu, as I call it, is more central, with more time and options, and he was picking out some lovely balls over the top, including the one Saka, oh my goodness, he is him, by the way, scored from. Look how deep Trent is on the average position maps, and those balls pushed him back. And Saka had Robertson, who I've never rated that highly particularly, by the way, on toast. I also really love the adjustment to carry through Liverpool a bit more. As you can see on this viz here from Mark's Stats Club, Trossard, Martinelli, Marino and Rice were all stretching their legs as the game opened up. When Liverpool's spaces are the way they are, because they press high, the distances can get stretched because of their back line. So you want to carry through them, and I think we did that well on a number of occasions, which is a nice variation for us, as we tend not to be huge carriers. And then in terms of the high turnovers, annoyingly, the two dangerous ones led to shots, one of which I think is the Marino mistake. But considering Liverpool's entire game plan is in large part to force you to turn the ball over in your own half in those dangerous areas so they can capitalise, 2 is really good. My only tactical issue is that in that period of the second half, especially at the beginning, we seemed to sit back. And it was before Gabriel and Timber went off. And I don't understand why. You see it in the running XG numbers and also in the field tilt. Just nothing for about 20 minutes. And I don't get it. We did it against Bournemouth as well. Is it fatigue? Is it a plan? If it's tactical with barely any of our goals ever coming on the transition, I don't like it. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't have an answer. You can see Mikel pushing the players forward. So I'm not sure it is instruction. So maybe more credit needs to go to Liverpool and Bournemouth. The refereeing was a joke. I get people tagging me in examples of bad refereeing all the time now because of my views on the conspiracy against Arsenal, but I've never said the refereeing is good in this country. And Sunday was a clear example of that. The Konate incident is mental. Mental. Anthony Taylor isn't even looking at Kivior for that foul on the disallowed goal and blows about 3 seconds after it happens anyway, which makes me think of that Jose interview. And even if he was looking, Aren't you meant to just keep playing until the sequence is finished? If you want a laugh, go and watch Arteta's presser after that game. The thoughts he must have privately are not particularly masked. He is seething, and rightly so. The standard of officiating consistency in this country is really concerning, and it's so annoying to have to talk about it every single time. Look, say at Wolves' record on the VAR calls. If they're trying to just sabotage us specifically, they're not doing a very good job. My point is every team is aggrieved by bad decisions in some way. So we just have to be better and make sure games aren't even close enough to come down to refereeing calls, because so often in this league, they get it so wrong. To me though, the big story of this game, and in fact to the season so far, comes down to something really childishly simple. Getting our best players on the pitch. Injuries and missing players are always a difficult thing to know how to contextualise, how big of a factor they are. On the one end of the spectrum, you get the, but how could we win? We're missing Nathan Butler-Oyedeji crowd. And you guys need to just grow up. But you also have the hard line, I don't care if the entire squad get lost at sea on a P&O cruise, we should still beat the greatest manager and Premier League team of all time to the league. Crowd. I'm going to shock you. I think we should be somewhere in the middle of that graph. Quelle surprise. I find Mikel publicly always strikes the right chord in relation to handling injuries. Before the Liverpool match, he spoke of not spending time thinking about the things going against us, only how we're going to win it and how it will feel to win it. I love that way of framing it, straight out of the Leaders in Sport manual. He spoke about feeling lucky to have the squad we have, not feeling sorry for ourselves, but to pick ourselves up and go for it. Pre-match on Sky, he skillfully morphed a probing question from a reporter about missing players into a discussion about an opportunity for others. He really is a master at that, and Eric 10 Excuses could have learned a bit from Mikel. Gutted, by the way. Genuinely gutted. If only it was onside. But that's the public face. That's the attitude, the energy Mikel's trying to transmit. It doesn't make it what he actually thinks. And the fact of the matter is, whether you're Real Madrid or Rushden and Diamonds, you want your best players on the pitch. By the end of the match yesterday, enforced by injury, suspension and fatigue, we had no Odegaard, no Gabriel, Saliba, Saka, Timber, Calafiori or Tomiyasu, and we still nearly won it. And I think should have won it if it wasn't for the refereeing. It's so boring to talk about missing players. I do get that, but it's a fact. And even those of you on the P&O end of the spectrum can hopefully admit that it's a particularly bad time right now. And it's not about squad depth anymore, in my view, in the market sense. We have the squad depth. Back in 22-23, when Saliba broke down, we were done because we were totally reliant on him. But now we've added Timber and Calafiori, and that's a huge knock-on effect for Ben White. We've promoted Miles, and we're using Kivior differently to aid in those issues. For me, this isn't a, why didn't we do the right thing in the summer? We did. Strength and depth is not an issue if you have the depth to call upon. And we didn't. Is there a conversation about why our defenders constantly get injured? Maybe. That Salah goal doesn't happen, in my opinion, if we have even one or two more of those guys available because of the knock-on effect. Kivior would not even be in the position to jump into the game and to get dragged into the ball there when he should be tracking the runner in the first place. He makes a mistake because he's not as good as our other defenders. That's it. I don't think it's that deep. Kivior's a decent player. He's okay. He's got things to work on. But after Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Tomiyasu, Calafiori, Ben White, is he the seventh choice to stand there? Next to essentially a child in Miles Lewis-Skelly when that ball comes over the top? If Odegaard's fit, does Rice slot in at centre-back, making him eighth choice? So the eighth choice to be there potentially against arguably the best right-sided winger in the history of the Premier League, played in by potentially the future greatest ever right-back in the history of the league, and undoubtedly one of the best passers we've ever seen. I think it's arguable he's eighth choice in that situation. I can hear the we can't use injured players and missing players as an excuse again crowd groaning. I hear you. But let's stick with you for a second. Let's go down your logic. We all want to win. That's the thing under all of this. We're desperate for a trophy and we don't want to wait. But if you can't, regretfully but graciously, accept that your defending will drop off, and it is an excuse when 6 of your 9 senior defenders are not available for selection by the end of that match, and I think Ben White's still unfit, when can you? I'm genuinely, non-rhetorically, asking what that situation would be. Tell me in the comments. Is there a conversation about Mikel's use of Zinchenko? Maybe, but I have to be honest, at that point in the game, I wanted Lewis-Skelly. We can look for other reasons that game went the way it did, and the season's gone the way it did, but Occam's razor comes to mind here. Maybe you have a better answer, in which case I'm genuinely open to it, but I don't think it's the tactics. I don't think it's the quality. I don't think it's the manager, particularly other than a few minor issues. I don't think it's the squad depth. I think it really is that simple. I mean, are we getting the most out of Sterling, Jesus and Zinchenko? Probably not. Yeah, there's periods of matches I don't like, but I think the big answer is staring us in the face. The basic fact is, sorry to repeat myself, we haven't had our best players available enough this season. And it's so simple, it's kind of taunting. We all want to sound smart, we all want to know ball, we want to talk about Nelly's touch maps or whatever, but that's it. And if we accept that, considering our fixture list, considering we're 5 points off top with City and Liverpool yet to play one another, and us having played them both, considering our captain and entire on and off ball reference has been missing, considering we know what the importance of Saka at Bournemouth would have been, considering the red cards, considering how big Saliba would have been at Liverpool knock-on effect wise, I think we can afford to breathe and take stock of a frustrating points-wise, but understandable start to this season. And as Arteta has said, no one would have expected the circumstances we've had. I don't want to become the Arsenal therapist, and I'm not telling you that everything's perfect, because it isn't. You can make up your own mind. But if you disagree with me, that's fine. Just answer these questions for me. Did you feel that Liverpool were significantly better at football against us on Sunday? In fact, go back further. Since the start of the season, have we been outplayed by any team? If Liverpool were missing all but one of their first choice back four, say Virgil, Trent and Robertson, and Tsimikas and Bradley weren't fit either, would they be justified in chalking a draw against a title rival up to that? If City were missing Ake, Kanji and Gvardiol and had no Rico Lewis or Diaz, would they have the right to put this game in the rearview mirror? And if they all would, why wouldn't we? Guys, let's keep it simple. Let's get our best players back and go again. It's not a binary. If we're missing one or two, we need to cope, as all sides do. But there's a time when it goes too far, and I think it did on Sunday. And let's avoid P&O cruises for now as well. I may not like the phrase, but its colloquial use is apt here. Don't overthink it. Stick together, block out the noise from those who actively profit from division, and try to enjoy the ride. If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon monthly, or you can buy us a coffee.